Hello, my name is GiBi, this is Toto, and welcome to the Horror Homestead. This is a video in an ongoing series I'm making about Five Nights at Freddy's and the Fazbear Frights novels. In each video, I'm going to summarize, analyze, and theorize about one of the stories from the Fazbear Frights novels. This one is about the story Dance With Me in the book Step Closer. I'm currently a believer in the Frights fiction fan theory, which states that all of the books are actually in-universe novels published by Fazbear Entertainment to make light of events that happened at Freddy's in the past. So now we're going to talk about the second story in Step Closer, which is called Dance With Me. Dance With Me is written by... So the FNAF wiki sucks. I've complained about this before, but I usually use it to tell who wrote which story in which book, because the books themselves don't specify. But no one knows who wrote Dance With Me. Like, actually. The front of the book credits 3 writers, Ellie Cooper, Kelly Parra, and Andrea Wagner. We know that Kelly Parra wrote Step Closer. We don't know if Ellie Cooper wrote Dance With Me, or if Andrea Wagner wrote Dance With Me. The thing is, I do know. Or at least I'm very confident that I know. And that's because of a single word. In The New Kid, Mick drinks from what the book calls a curlicue straw. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that this sent me through a loop because curlicue can also be spelled curly-Q, which is what I always thought the word was. I thought it was curly Q. So reading curlicue made me question my reality. It's such an uncommon word that it really stuck out to me when it appeared again in Coming Home, the third story in Step Closer. A pasta noodle is referred to as a curlicue noodle. That's such an uncommon word to occur across stories, and the idea that those were written by different authors would be crazy to me. So that makes me think that they're written by the same person. We know that New Kid was written by Andrea Wagner, which makes me think that Coming Home was also written by Andrea Wagner, which then by default means that Dance With Me is written by Ellie Cooper. Update the wiki, y'all, I solved this FNAF theory. Anyway, here's Dance With Me. The stars looked like tiny pinpricks of light shining through a sheet of black velvet. Casey lay on her back on a low stone wall, staring up at the sky, feeling wonder at being even a small part of such a beautiful universe. She remembered a nursery rhyme from when she was little. There had been a coloring sheet in kindergarten with the nursery rhyme's words, and a picture of smiling stars. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, she thought, how I wonder what I am. This wistful opening is interrupted by Jack, Casey's friend, telling her to come and see what he's looking at, which is a woman with her 2 small kids leaving Circus Baby's Pizza World. Casey trots over to them, gets ready, and then runs and grabs the mother's purse. Casey, Jack, and their other friend AJ are thieves. Let's talk about our thieves. They live in a warehouse, they sleep on the floor, they steal to eat. Casey is fast, and she's a young woman, so she's usually the one stealing and running their scams. She then splits everything with the boys evenly. The purse that she stole has $80 in it, as well as a goodie bag from Circus Babies, which had candy and a little pair of glasses with a picture of Ballora on the lenses. They're supposed to be like a hologram, like imagine like 3D glasses, and you put them on, and then you see Ballora. Casey tries them on, they make her feel dizzy, it's too dark to see anything in the warehouse, so she just puts them away. We learn about Casey's tragic backstory trademark, where her mother started dating a guy that she didn't like, that Casey didn't like, and then that guy also didn't like Casey, so Casey ends up on the street at age 17. She feels bad about literally stealing candy from a baby because her own childhood sucked. She then goes to buy breakfast the next morning and puts the glasses on again. She hadn't noticed that a tiny slip of rolled up paper was taped to the glasses' left earpiece. She peeled the tape off carefully, unrolled the slip of paper, and read, "Put on the glasses and Ballora will dance for you." Casey put on the glasses and felt the same dizziness as the night before. She looked down the sidewalk toward Circus Baby's Pizza World. There, in the distance, she saw the image of a ballerina, her hands above her head, standing on tiptoe and spinning. It wasn't a very sharp image, blue and a little fuzzy. A hologram. That was what these kinds of pictures were called, she suddenly remembered. But even if distant and blurry, there was something fascinating about the strange ballerina doll twirling. After a while, Casey started to feel dizzy, as if she were the one doing the pirouetting herself. Afraid she might be sick, she took off the glasses and leaned against the side of a building to get her bearings. Casey goes home to the warehouse and has the boys try on the glasses. They do not see Ballora and they call her crazy. Cue the Fazbear Frights special recipe of repeating the exact same thing over and over. Casey goes about her day. She steals stuff. She puts on the glasses. She sees Ballora. She feels dizzy. Every time she does, Ballora is getting closer to her. What separates this from 1:35 a.m. and Step Closer is that there's a cool escalation in Casey's story, even if the Ballora thing wasn't happening. If Ballora wasn't in this story, I'd still read it and I'd still enjoy it. Casey goes to steal a purse from a girl outside of a club. She has a small strap on her purse, and so what Casey does is she takes scissors and she runs up and she cuts the strap so that she can yank it and run off. But right before she's about to cut it, someone bumps into her arm and she ends up stabbing the girl. Not like to death, she just like bleeds a little bit. And this upsets Casey, because she likes to think that she's just a little thief and she's not hurting people, but now she has, because now she's drawn blood and she's covered in this girl's blood to show for it. She opens the purse and there's only $20 inside. So she has to split that 3 ways, so she's made nothing and she's hurt someone. Stealing candy from a baby, stabbing someone, Casey's excuses that it's okay for her to be a thief because her mom never loved her are looking pretty silly right now. She gets it in her head that the glasses only work because they're connected to circus babies or something like that, so she decides to leave forever. She goes to the bus station, and a nice old lady sees her slouched on a bench, and she shares her sandwich. She tells her that running from her problems would never work. Casey thanks her and then takes a bus to Memphis, Tennessee. In order to do research for this video, I also went to Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm currently there as of the live premiere of this video.
Ballora? Ballora?
I think I see Ballora back there. What do you think about that?
That means...
Anach, Chazi.
So Casey goes to the Royal Cafe, which is not a real place. I looked. Why would it be? This is Frights fiction. She gets a dishwashing job without giving her last name. She's getting, like, under-the-table type pay stuff. The guy who owns it is nice. His name is Jimmy. There's a waitress there named Brenda who immediately doesn't like Casey. Casey lives out of a hotel and works at the cafe and starts stealing some of Brenda's tips. Brenda and Jimmy then sit her down. And they say that, although no one has seen her stealing any tips, Brenda has noticed that she's making less. Jimmy's gonna watch her really closely. On her way home, she puts on the glasses and she sees Ballora and shouts, Why do you keep following me?" That's how Casey sounds now. Because Ballora stands for beauty or guilt or something. She has a dream that Ballora calls her a liar and a thief, so she decides to leave Memphis. She actually had tried to start a new life here, but then ended up stealing stuff anyway because she felt like she needed the money, and so now she thinks that that's why Ballora followed her. So if she goes to the next city and just doesn't steal anything, she'll be free from Ballora. She still keeps the glasses. She takes the glasses with her. I don't know why. She just likes them. So she decides to leave Memphis and go to Nashville. Unfortunately, this is where my story of tracking Casey ends. I'm not going to Nashville. I wish I was. But at least I'm free of Ballora. There'll be no mind control for me. Casey looks for a new job in Nashville and finds that she's gonna need some nice clothes for a job interview. She goes to a store, a nice sales associate helps her find her dress size, but with the very little money that she has, she can't afford shoes and the dress, so she buys the shoes and shoves the dress in her purse. She then tries to walk out with it, but it sets off the stealing alarm. The manager comes over and is like, "Are you stealing?" And Casey's like, "Yeah." They're gonna call the cops, and then this nice lady is like, "Actually, I'm rich and I believe her. She has a very nice face. I'm gonna buy the dress so that she can go on her job interview." And this is odd because Casey is not an honest person, and the lady's like, "You have an honest face." So now we have to ask ourselves the question, is Casey deep down an honest person? She's just stealing? Or is this lady wrong? Will this spur Casey to be more honest? I don't know. I do know because it's what happens next, but like when it happens, I don't know. That night, Ballora scratches the window of her hotel room. She is close enough to get her, so Casey decides that she's done running. She's going to take the advice from the old lady at the bus stop from the beginning and actually face her problems instead of running from them. She returns to her hometown. She has the name and the address of the woman whose purse she stole outside of Circus Babies because her driver's license was in there. She knocks on the door and introduces herself as the thief who stole her purse. She gives her the money back as well as her license and then the glasses that her daughter won. The lady, whose name is Sarah, probably no relation to Sarah from To Be Beautiful, given that Sarah dies, invites her inside and says it's very honest of her to return the money and to turn her life around. I will now read the ending. "I'm Isabella," the little girl said. Her eyes were big and blue. They were bright and lively, not blank like Ballora's. "Isabella, I think I have something that belongs to you," Casey said. Isabella hopped down from her chair. "What is it?" Casey reached into her bag, pulled out the cardboard glasses, and held them out to Isabella. Isabella's wide blue eyes grew even wider. "It's my Ballora glasses! It's my Ballora glasses that got stoled, Mommy!" Sarah set 2 mugs of tea and 1 cup of juice on the table. "Stolen, not stoled. But you're right. Tell Casey thank you for returning them." "Thank you for returning my glasses, Casey," Isabella said, smiling up at her. Casey smiled back. "You're welcome." Casey knew she didn't need them anymore, and besides, they had always really belonged to Isabella. Isabella put on the glasses and let out a gasp of surprise. "There she is," Isabella said. The little girl stood still for a moment, glasses on, her mouth agape in wonder. And then she started to dance. Finally, we get a real happy ending. This is very sweet. It's like Out of Stock and Into the Pit. We get a sweet ending. Nothing bad happened. No one got hurt. It also breaks the streak of female protagonists always dying in their story, so I guess that wasn't a real pattern to begin with. Analysis. Let's talk about beauty. The opening little passage about Casey staring at the stars is kind of lame. I think that some writers want to give their character a little quirk or something relatable that makes the audience connect to them. I didn't explicitly talk about it, but in The New Kid, Mick, the nerdy friend, continues to use outdated slang words for cool, like far out and cool beans. That was like his thing. This story opens with Casey looking at the stars, and that might make her seem relatable because we, as the reader, also like the stars. But the problem is that we probably like the stars because everyone likes the stars, and so it actually circles around to telling us nothing about her. The thing is, as I just said, some readers do this to trick you into caring about a character. But other writers, good writers, like Ellie Cooper, will only include what's actually needed to tell their story. Casey looking at the stars tells us that she values beauty, and this continues to come up throughout the entire story. And that is when I realized that I wasn't reading some forgettable garbage about how stealing is wrong. It's actually an interesting story about how stealing is wrong. Out in the sunshine, her belly full of food and coffee, Casey felt good. She thought she might take a walk in the park before she went back to the warehouse to see what the boys were up to. So Casey enjoys a good walk in the park. She appreciates beauty and other nice things. She describes Ballora as beautiful and horrible at one point. Now, I know to you guys, I'm reporting all this information about the book in like one video, like linearly, and so you don't get to see my writing process. So me saying she values beauty and then reading out a paragraph where it says that she values beauty isn't really like impressive. But when I was reading it, I immediately noticed that she valued beauty. And so then later as it became a pattern, I'm like, this is good. This is like taking this one thing and then repeating it so that we get the point. You actually tried to say something here, Ellie Cooper, and I appreciate it. Casey stood on the sidewalk and watched the image as though hypnotized. It was beautiful, and there was so little beauty in Casey's day-to-day life. Casey felt overcome with sadness and longing and another feeling too. Regret? Was she regretting the way she lived? A life should have beauty in it, shouldn't it? Life should be about more than just survival. So yeah, the book just kind of spells it out for you, but still, I really like it. This comment will remain evergreen. I don't think that Casey's dizziness is the result of illusion discs, because those make sound, and it also doesn't work on other people, so it's probably just agony. She used to steal from her minimum wage job, mentioning that it would take over 2 hours to make $20, which is why that she stole things. Casey used to steal from her minimum wage job and mentions that $20 is more that she would make in 2 hours, so that tells us that minimum wage is under $10, but that doesn't actually help us place the story in the timeline because we don't know what state she's in. In Utah, minimum wage is still less than $10 an hour. Although it does help confirm that Stitchline is not games canon. In the games, Circus Babies is only open for 1 day, and in this, it's obviously open for more. I don't know why I don't hear people talk about this more. Like, this is incompatible with the idea that Stitchline is canon to the games. Okay, let's talk about the ending. I think that the ending means that Casey is turning her life around the way that a ballerina will pirouette and spin. That's the best I got. Ballora is coming closer and closer because she keeps stealing, and then she does the right thing and returns everything and makes up for her misdeeds, My Name is Earl style, and so now Ballora's gonna leave her alone. The moral is don't steal, don't run from your mistakes, ask for forgiveness. I've seen people say that they think that this ending is Ballora mind controlling or possessing Isabella. No. I just really don't see how you can come to that conclusion based on what the story's trying to say. There's no indication that Ballora's goal was to mind control Casey. Like, it was that she was coming to get her, like, to kill her. And there's no reason that this curse would carry on to Isabella. It's a happy ending. A very happy ending where Casey is forgiven, invited inside, and then the little girl dances because she's happy. Like, I don't even think I would have mentioned that that was a possible reading of the ending if I didn't see other people saying that they interpreted it that way. Like, I think if you read or hear a summary of the events of the story, it makes sense that that's what happens, but if you read the story, I don't think that that's reasonable. With that said, it would be unfair for me to not go down that line of thought, so let's do that. Let's examine that ending now. The text says, Casey knew she didn't need them anymore, and besides, they had always really belonged to Isabella. So, like, it's possible that the idea is that Isabella was supposed to be cursed or possessed, and then Casey stole her glasses, putting the curse on herself, and then gave them back, which ironically gives the little girl back the curse. My issue with this is that these stories are all morality tales. The moral of the story is, don't steal and apologize. Sometimes the main characters of these books get punished even after they make amends, right? Like in the last story, Pete died even though he made it up to his brother. So like if Casey went outside and saw Ballora standing at the door anyway and then died, then like, okay, that's fair, I get it. But this interpretation would be that a random little girl gets taken over, and the moral would be, stealing is okay because you might be stealing a cursed object from a child, which is just so clearly not what the story's going for. It's a very sweet story. I really liked it. I think if it wasn't FNAF related, I would still enjoy it. Ellie Cooper hits it out of the park again, and that's assuming that she's actually the author. I'm not 100% sure. All right, let's talk about Frights fiction. This is the first time I've seen something that basically deconfirms Stitchline. To think that this is games canon, you would have to think that Circus Babies opened a new location after FNAF 6 and before the Pizzaplex, which is just very silly. But in Frights fiction, it makes perfect sense. Ballora is a character that Fazbear Entertainment owns. They use her in A Tale for Children. It's not Ballora that hurts the little girl. Ballora doesn't actually hurt anyone. She's just there to teach a lesson to the adult that stole. Ballora's blueprints in the games actually reference that she's there to distract parents while Funtime Freddy snatches kids. So let's say that those blueprints leak to the public and Fazbear Entertainment wants to cover that up. Fazbear can point to this story and go, no, Ballora distracting parents, taking their eyes off their kids, that's just a story where Ballora was literally dancing in front of this adult. But look, the kids love Ballora, it's a happy ending. In my theory that this might be a sequel to The Silver Eyes, this doesn't really say anything. We can talk about that theory next after we read Coming Home. This just doesn't add to it one way or the other. And that was Dancing With Me. What's it called? And that was Dance With Me. Thank you for watching. Be sure to be nice to each other in the comments, consider supporting the creators you admire, never lose sight of the things that are important to you, and remember that Freddy stands for Friendly, Respectful Engagement, Discussion, and Discourse Yields Success. I would like to thank my February patrons, Brandon, Grayson, Lauren V, Morgan, Nan, and Sophie, as well as Billy, Klaus, Eliza, Halmar, Johnny, Kira, Lauren R, Rhiannon, Rose, Scott, Sebhar, Thamagata, Ya Boy Peachy, and Zany Face, as well as Jinx, Jose, Just That Spark, Rolo, Riley, Shadowmaster, and Tanner McCoolman, along with Jeannie and Ray.
Hello, Phil.
I see.
Sniljas, Holinesnyak, Heroi, Smayan, Ursan, Win, Urioi.
Ruff.